Hello, welcome to Practical C++ Programming. My name is Zach, and this is our final tutorial. So in this tutorial, I've kind of already typed up and fixed everything that we needed to fix. If you look at our word list.txt, you can see I changed everything to lowercase so that we don't have any conflicts with our user input and the word that is chosen. And what we really needed to add was, in order to decide whether the user has won or lost during each guess. And to do that, the first thing I had to do was declare a global variable called flag. Now, I'm not sure if we went over global and local variables, but all a global variable is a variable that is declared outside of all the functions. You can see, like, it's not in the main function. This variable is actually declared underneath all my prototypes. And what this does, it allows this variable to be used in all of my functions across the board. Now, this normally isn't, recommended. You definitely don't want to do this with all your variables for privacy reasons, but in this case, it's going to work out perfectly for us. So I created a Boolean variable called flag. You can name it whatever you want. I just called it flag. And I declared it to false. For when the program first starts up, it's going to be declared false. And then, if we scroll down a little bit, in our while loop, you can see that I have the flag set to true right at the beginning of the while loop. And then, I have a condition that says if flag equals true, break. So I kind of want to show you what this is doing. This is basically when this while loop starts, setting flag to true, and then after these functions run, if flag is still true, it's going to break from the while loop. And I want to show you where this flag would get changed, and that's in my print blanks function. So let's go down to print blanks, and I'll show you what happens. So in my print blanks function, all I did was I basically said that if this branch is executed, set flag to false. But if this branch never gets executed at all, flag is going to stay true, because every time this for loop runs, it's going to be running this piece of code rather than this piece of code, which basically means that throughout the life cycle of this for loop, if one blank gets printed, then flag is going to be set to false, basically meaning that the puzzle has not yet been solved. Flag equals false, meaning the word has not been completed yet because there's still a blank. But let's say this for loop runs all the way through and not one blank gets printed, then flag will never get set to false. And if we go back up to our main function, flag never gets set to false, so flag is still true after print blanks. And it says if flag equals true, break. Well, at that point, if you break, you come out here outside the while loop, and I added these two conditional statements. And basically it says if user lives equals 0, then obviously you broke out of this function because user lives was 0. And if you recall, our while loop basically said while user lives is greater than 0, keep doing this. But if user lives equals 0, then break out of this function and come down here. And if you come down here after you break out of the function with user lives 0, then you're going to run this code, and it's going to say you lose. The word was, and it'll tell you the word. But if user lives is greater than 0, then obviously you broke out of this while loop in a different way, which was via the flag. So let's say user lives is at 3, flag is set to true, print blanks runs, no blanks were printed, basically meaning all the letters were guessed correctly, flag is still true, and you break out of this while loop. Well, then you're breaking out of this while loop while user lives is 3. And if user lives is 3, hence greater than 0, then this code is going to get ran instead of this code, and it's going to say you win. And that's basically the functionality of this code. It's actually rather simple because basically we just created one more variable and we just we basically just, you have to think about it a little bit. You know, we came down here and we just set the flag to false if one blank got printed, basically. If a blank at all gets printed, then the flag is going to be false, and you'll never be able to break out of the while loop via the if statement that checks that flag is true. You won't be able to break out. And the only other way to break out is if lives is equal to 0, and if lives equals to 0, then you lose. And so that's how this works. And if we run it, I want to go ahead and show you our finished product. When we run it, we'll go ahead and so this first word, just because we have 10 words, and I've ran it a few times and I know what it is Linux. So, you know, let me get a couple of letters wrong. So it's starting to draw our man, you can see. But if we get it all the letters right, so we'll say I-N-U-X, and you can see it's telling us the letters that we've guessed, which is something I wanted to add in. And then it says you win, the word was Linux, process returns 0. And you can see that's how the game works. But let's run it again. And I think we actually got the same word. No, we didn't. So this is a different word, not Linux, because it picked a different word out of the word bank. And we're going to try to get it wrong. So we'll just guess random letters. You can see it's drawing our man. And one more. It says you lose, the word was truck. And that's the basic, you know, functionality of this program. It's a basic hangman game, but we used literally, you know, everything that we could in this course. And so everything that we learned we got to utilize for this program, and that's kind of why I picked this project for our end of the course final project. And so what I challenge you to do is you know, kind of convert this program into something more advanced. Maybe use file output or something else that we learned in this course, you know, to save high scores. Maybe use a word bank with 100 different words, and then, you know, use the file output to say, you know, each time you run it, to save your score to this file, and then check what the high score is in that file, and then print out what the high score is compared to your score, and keep updating that file every time you run it. I would recommend trying that and just really getting good at these beginner concepts, and run through these last few tutorials a few times so you can see how we use these functions. Because when you take an advanced C++ course, you're gonna have to really know all that stuff really well. So the last thing I ask is, if you really enjoyed this course and you learned a lot, is to give me some good feedback, and maybe leave a review if you can. And if you really liked it, you can leave a review and just kind of tell me, you know, you'd like to see an advanced course, and if I get enough people interested, I will definitely make an advanced course, and we'll do some more cool projects. But for now, thank you for watching, and thank you for being a part of this course. Goodbye.